So I know that this Jeffrey Epstein thing is something that when you look at the range of problems and challenges and policy decisions that have to be made in this country, Jeffrey Epstein really is not a point of significance. But what has vaulted it to a point of significance is the political relevance it has had, and it continues to have, and Trump's obsession with it. And when you have a president working so hard to skate away from something, it begins to take on a significance from the standpoint of mystery about what might be wrapped up, in this case, in the Epstein files, and also the true toxicity of this thing, such that it's weighing down the Trump presidency. Now, that's not to say that he's not still able to do all of the things that he wants to do, pursue these immigration policies that are chaotic, that are aggressive, that are illegal, to build these detention centers, to go after the tariffs that are, again, also chaotic and illegal. But this is just muted, honestly, by the size of this Epstein controversy, because the controversy associated with Jeffrey Epstein is, I think, informed so much by just how horrifying a guy Epstein was. I mean, he really had compromat, it seemed, on so many powerful people, such that he was able to get away with human trafficking. It's a grotesque, truly skeezy, awful thing to read about what Jeffrey Epstein and his associates did. And one of his associates, his prime associates, former girlfriend, and then became kind of the right-hand person for Jeffrey Epstein. Mm-hmm. She's serving time right now, Galain Maxwell, right?
Yeah.
Well, what we've learned is, and we touched on this yesterday with David K. Johnston, is the number 2 person at the Justice Department is going to go meet with her. That in itself is extraordinary. I mean, her case has been adjudicated. The cake is baked. She's serving 20 years. Why you would go meet with her behind closed doors while there are congressional subcommittees that want her to testify in the open about what's in something of the Epstein files, that is bizarre. It almost, as we were saying yesterday, only could point to a deal. Like, what additional information do you need from her? You fired, Pam Bondi did, the prosecutor, James Comey's daughter, who was the prosecutor against Jeffrey Epstein, the one who got the conviction. You fired her. That just happened a couple days ago, right? So I don't understand exactly what's going on unless, as I think we all have come to understand, you're going to try to figure out a way in which she might get a lesser sentence for time served or whatever it might be in return for an understanding that can be implied or can be explicit that what she says will not implicate Donald Trump. Clearly, there is stuff in this Epstein file that is damaging to Donald Trump. Has to be. Otherwise, why would he be so obsessed with it? It doesn't make any sense. If you truly had an innocuous relationship where you were just pals, didn't know anything about it, and first of all, that's impossible to believe that you would be around that guy as much as they were. They were best friends for so long. For you to be that close to someone and not know that he is a pedophile and a human trafficker, to say it strains credulity is to be polite. So now Pam Bondi will also be going to meet with her. The stakes in this Galain Maxwell meeting have just been upped even further. Albert, do you have there's a story on this, and I liked the legal wrap on it. And here it is from just a couple of hours ago.
The Justice Department now intends to interview Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Galain Maxwell, who's currently serving a 20-year prison sentence in Florida for sex trafficking. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche announced plans to meet with Maxwell in the coming days, saying, quote, if she has information about anyone who has committed crimes against victims, the FBI and DOJ will hear what she has to say. Maxwell's attorney confirmed discussions with the government are underway, adding, quote, Galain will always testify truthfully. President Trump was asked about the outreach to Maxwell at the White House yesterday.
Do you support the Justice Department seeking an interview with Galain Maxwell? Did you urge the Attorney General to seek?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General has reached out to Galain Maxwell's attorney asking for an interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given?
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's a sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt.
But there it is. Let's bring in MSNBC legal correspondent, former litigator, Lisa Rubin. Lisa, good morning. What would you expect the Deputy Attorney General to be asking Galain Maxwell at that federal prison in Florida?
First of all, the existence of a meeting between the Deputy Attorney General and any person who's incarcerated is remarkable. Yeah. And so when Todd Blanche wrote in his ex post yesterday, no administration has ever done this as if it were a good thing. I just want to take a step back and recognize why it's so atypical that a political appointee would go to see a convicted felon. It's because Galain Maxwell was prosecuted some time ago. She had an opportunity to testify in her own defense at her criminal trial. She didn't take it. But presumably the conversation between Todd Blanche and Galain Maxwell is going to be, what didn't you say that you're willing to say now in exchange for some form of leniency? And the reason I think that there's a deal to be had is where Galain Maxwell is in her criminal conviction journey, so to speak. Her conviction has been upheld by the Second Circuit, that's the Federal Court of Appeals, last November. She is in the middle of briefing a petition to the Supreme Court to review her conviction. And the sole question for review by the Supreme Court, if Galain Maxwell gets her way, is, am I entitled to the rights and privileges that Jeffrey Epstein negotiated when he negotiated that sweetheart deal with Trump's first labor secretary, Alex Acosta? If so, I should have never been prosecuted by the Southern District of New York. But of course, getting the Supreme Court to review that conviction is an uphill battle to begin with. And then winning is also an uphill battle. So Galain Maxwell very much wants to get out of prison. She has contended that she was wrongfully prosecuted and convicted. She may be willing to say certain things or tell certain truths in order for some leniency from this administration.
At least
there you go. That's what I wanted you to hear. I mean,
or lie. She may be willing to lie.
I think that was, kind of the unspoken part, reading between the lines, to tell certain truths, meaning she'll say whatever she has to say to get out of prison.
Sure.
You have the top people at the Justice Department going to meet her. And I'll remind you of something that I mentioned to you when his name first came up, and that was a long time ago. Todd Blanche, who is number 2 at DOJ, he used to be Trump's personal attorney. And this is the guy who, and Trump has surrounded himself by these personal attorneys. We talked about Emile Beauvais, who is likely on track to be a Supreme Court justice and going through Senate confirmation. That's another one who is Trump's personal attorney. These are people who have tremendous loyalty to Donald Trump. And so anyway, in the case of Blanche, he's going down there with Pam Bondi, I guess, apparently now, to talk to Galain Maxwell. I mean, if that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know about the importance of this Epstein file, that should, I think, animate even greater interest in it. So, it's double-edged. But if I were Galain Maxwell, I'd make sure that there were some other people there besides just those two, because you could just all of a sudden start thinking about taking your own life in ways in which I don't buy the Jeffrey Epstein took his own life story at all. Not at all. And all of these people sort of being suicided, I think it's all too possible. So, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein probably, based on what I've read, didn't even think he was going to be convicted. He didn't even think that he was actually going to end up in prison for any length of time based on the deal he'd made with Alex Acosta. So the idea that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide, I think it's laughable. Absolutely no chance. And so Ghislaine Maxwell now meeting with top DOJ people. Now she has leverage, right? She has information and she has the power, I'm sure they think, to maybe defuse this situation, which has become so very explosive for Donald Trump. So in this moment anyway, maybe she can maneuver some sort of escape, legal escape. We'll see. But I mean, all things are possible. Meantime, before I get to Rothman, new video has come out to further animate this Epstein thing.
And
Pictures have come out.
Trump is angry about it too. He just can't, no matter how many distractions he fires off, he can't get rid of this scandal. And every day the press is not letting up. And now we have new old pictures, a fresh take on old classics showing Epstein at various Trump events, including his wedding to Marla Maples. That would be wife number 2. There he is with his kids, a little too close to Epstein, right, with the children. And then there's video. I think that we have video of him at a Victoria's Secret fashion show as well, where they're chumming around and laughing and looking at people. Yeah,
he's there they are. This is, if you're just listening, these are just various social events, and I'd include the Trump wedding as a social event, in which you find Jeffrey Epstein prominently alongside Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the fashion show, and you find Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. So the idea somehow that, Trump barely knew him, he really just can't skate away from his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It was very close. He shows up in the flight manifest at least 7 times that we know about. And so it's a real problem for Trump to say that he didn't know Jeffrey Epstein very well. So he's now just trying to avoid the subject completely. But the reality is there is something, if not many things, in the Epstein file that Trump does not want released, which is why he did the head fake thing with Bondi, saying, please look into releasing the grand jury testimony, which is like 1/1000th of what's in the Epstein files. Read any of the excerpts, even from some of the civil litigation. I mean, the victim testimony it's moving. I mean, what they did to these young girls, 12, 13, 14 years old, some even younger than that. So, what's alleged here and the information that is compiled in those Epstein files, it is so very damning and damaging, and even MAGA Nation would have trouble swallowing it. But Matt W. says 1,000% that's what's going to happen. They'll promise to pardon her right before Trump gets out if she plays ball. They definitely want her cooperation. And let me just say this. They couldn't find a more willing player. She wants to get out. What do you guys want me to say? I'll say it. I mean, I'm sorry. This isn't some woman who's going to stand on principle. She's an incarcerated person who desperately wants out. And if you're telling me I've got to say A, B, C, great. Where do I say it? Show me the cameras. Show me the microphones.
Well,
Let's end this madness.
It's not like she's someone with good morals. Look what she's in jail for. I mean, lying is a pittance for her. It's like nothing.
Right. And I must say this about her. And again, I get this from victim testimony. Apparently, she's very charming, warm. She comes across very well. That's why they were able to groom so many of these young girls into this horrifying existence in the orbit of Jeffrey Epstein, where they could call them in the middle of the night and they would come over and take care of some guy who is a heavy hitter, Wall Street person, government person. Look, Prince Andrew was involved in this, and British intelligence. And by the way, we'll talk to Rothman in a moment. Rothman would tell you this. British intelligence may be the elite of the elite when it comes to intelligence communities. America has great intelligence. Mossad, of course, Israel, very, very well-developed elite intelligence force, and the British as well. If they looked into this and they reported to the royal family details such that the royal family said, we want nothing more to do with Prince Andrew, that again gives you an insight into the Epstein files. These are incendiary. They are radioactive, and Trump does not want them revealed. Randy says the New York Times has just reported that the judge has refused the request to unseal the transcripts of the Epstein grand jury. Yeah. By the way, that was part of the arithmetic already. You know, to ask for something that you knew the judge would say, no, we can't do that. Right. But as I say, even if the judge had granted the request, there's so little there relative to the wealth of information in the Epstein files that it really wouldn't have made a difference. But again, this is all theater. It's all performative. It's all to show the effort that they're making. We want to get this out into the public. Look, I just asked the judge to release those files. And most people in MAGA Nation, they don't know, right? Grand jury testimony, whatever. They want, ultimately, they want their man to be on the side of the righteous. Maybe Ghislaine could only name Democrats. That's right. Thank you, Ms. Apollo. That's right. Not looking well, indeed. Not looking well. All right. That's a quick wrap on the situation with Epstein to this moment. We'll give you more. This is a story that won't go away. I told you yesterday, and now you're seeing it play out, that Congress is adjourning early. MAGA Mike Johnson is adjourning Congress early so they won't be able to vote on the release of the Epstein files, a vote that the Democrats want. Trump is trying to pull this across the finish line. He's getting all the help of MAGA Nation in Congress. But ultimately, the more they squirm, the more they deny, the more they say it's not important, the more it grows in importance. Katzenjam says, listen to him. He doesn't know anything about them going to threaten Maxwell. She's toast, shaking my head. They could spirit her away anywhere and call her an immigrant being deported. Yeah. It is true. That is certainly true. I had one more.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.